All right. Hey, I'm DZ.
I'm Kiana.
And you're in the flood zone. Well, today we're going to be talking about a couple of topics that I think will be very instrumental for you all that are starting a business, wanting to start a business, or even thinking about starting a business. I think one of the first keys that we need to talk about is starting from the bottom.
Yep. Starting from the bottom. Super. I mean, it ain't even super. It's just where things are. It's what happens. It's where you start.
Yeah. What does that mean? Go ahead.
I think it means, don't be afraid to start at the ground level. A lot of times, when we see things and see people, and somebody can't let me switch, but he's gonna switch.
Okay, go ahead. I apologize.
So I think starting from the bottom is a lot of times when we look at things like we look at YouTube, we look at people we see on TV, even people that are in our everyday lives, we don't see them at ground level a lot of times.
Yeah.
You see them on like people you say, oh, they're on chapter 15 or they're in whatever they're doing, say 15 years or maybe 5 years. And their 5 years or 15 years is definitely not going to look like your first year, and your first year will not look like their fifth year. You know what I'm saying? So just know that it's going to look different in the beginning, but as you continue to do something, you perfect it in small ways, so that you'll get better at it and it'll look better.
Right. And most people, can you switch me please, so y'all can see my face? Okay, so most people want you to see the final product of anything that they produce or anything that they display. But the thing is, you got to understand they had to start from somewhere. And starting from the bottom sometimes don't look good. It don't feel good. Sometimes you have, I guess majority of the time, you have a lot of hiccups and gale force winds. That's what I want to use. Gale force winds just hitting you in the face, because you got to think about it. If you don't get a lot of feedback or pushback from what you're doing, when you hit those rocky spots or those places to where you're going to be broke one day and you got to figure out what you need to do, I mean, you're in your business. So a lot of times when you're starting from the beginning, that's when you're going to have the most issues as far as or hurdles, I should say, when it comes down to being progressive. And you can't give up because it wants to break you, basically.
Yeah, it wants to break you, and then it also it prepares you for later on down the line for bigger issues that may arise. How to handle them. I think if you know how to handle small things, when the bigger issue comes, you're a little more equipped for what is to happen and how to handle it.
So even with this podcast, so there's a lot of things that we're experiencing, trying to get to work together, and angles and lighting and little children in the background with tablets and stuff. We're trying to get them, to where it's doable. So it's taken us a long time to start recording because we're new at this.
Right. And I was listening to somebody and they were saying a lot of times when people do podcasts, they try to record a lot all at one time. And they were saying in the beginning, that may not be the best route to go because you haven't perfected your workflow and how to set things up or how to make sure the lighting is correct and audio is correct so that you can, record a lot in one setting. She said, sometimes you have to go back and just start and just record one and see how long that takes you. And as you continuously do that, you will perfect the craft in editing the video or setting up the studio or whatever it is that you're doing, so that repetition causes you to know how to do something quicker each time you do it.
And sometimes you're going to look foolish. Okay, I'm gonna say that again. Sometimes you're gonna look foolish because you'll be doing the same thing over and over, and then the fifth time you do it, things will start breaking down and won't work, and you might be trying to print a shirt and the shirt just will not take the ink, and you're like, okay, what in the world? I've done this before, but the whole thing about it is those are lessons that you have to write down, take all the information you possibly can, get them down and on a piece of paper so you can say, okay, hey, don't do this. I need to do this. Move that cable, or no, don't put that ink on that type of shirt. So it's okay to start from the bottom, and you're going to make mistakes. Did we make mistakes or what?
Yeah.
Starting off. Oh my God.
We made lots of mistakes.
Do you remember that job we did for the community college? Mm-hmm. It was one of our first jobs, and they needed them that next day, and we stayed up, I think it was almost all night trying to get this screen right, and because there's a formula you got to use to be able to make a screen, and we weren't successful.
I remember we coded at the time. We were screen printing at the house. We had maybe 15 screens, maybe not even that, maybe 15.
Yeah, I don't even think.
I don't even remember how many, but anyway, we coded every screen, let it dry, and burned every single screen, and not one of those screens turned out for us to be able to print.
All of them out.
Yeah, everything blew out or would not blow out at all, and so we knew from past experience that it was either we were overexposing or underexposing the screen, so we had to dial in the exposure time, and then once we got that put together, it burned like nothing. It washed out like like it was supposed to, but it just took us doing that process multiple times to figure that out. We did get that job done.
We got it done, but it was like there was a life lesson. If we didn't take it as lessons, okay, we would, right, like today we understand how things work because we've been doing it for a while. We've been doing screens for a while, so now we know what time it needs to expose, or when to put it on, or if it's too cold, or if it's too hot, or if the motion is bad, or things of that nature. So when you're starting from the bottom, there's a lot of life lessons that you're going to have to learn. Some you're going to bump your head. Sometimes you're going to lose money. I'm going to say that again. You're going to lose money sometimes because you don't know what you don't know.
You don't know what you don't know.
And then, it might hurt your pocket, and sometimes you might have to give reimbursements. But the thing is, you have to write that down as a life lesson and then take it and move on. A lot of people that get a job and the job didn't come out right, or it was kind of bad, and somebody leave a bad review, and now you feel like your business or your service or whatever you're producing is over.
Right.
You sold a bad shirt, then my selling of shirts business is kaput.
Well, I remember one job we did. It was
Stop, Zay. Go ahead.
It was, I don't know. It was we probably printed 200 shirts.
Mm-hmm. Let me switch this because she don't know. Go ahead.
So we probably printed about 200 shirts, and it was a simple print. It was the first time customer, and we got everything in. They approved it. We printed it, shipped it out the door, and she said she came back a couple of weeks later and said, a couple of my employees are saying that their design is washing out. And I was like, oh, shoot.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I knew exactly what was the problem. It was undercured going through the dryer. Either the dryer wasn't hot enough, or there was some sort of draft blowing through the dryer, which still in turn cooled the dryer off not enough. So it wasn't hot enough for it to cure the shirts onto the ink. And so I said, you know what, bring the shirts back. We'll replace them. We'll fix them, whatever it is. If you have any that haven't been washed, bring those back too, and we'll fix them. So we ended up running the shirts through the dryer again, which saved a lot of the shirts. But then the shirts that they had given out and washed, we replaced those. But that just taught us to be a little more diligent in when you print those first couple shirts, to check and make sure that the ink has cured, make sure that the dryer is at the right temperature, and don't try to rush the shirt through the dryer, just because if you do, it needs to stay through that dryer for like what, a minute
Yeah.
at a certain temperature
Mm-hmm.
for it to cure. And so, that was just a lesson that we learned. And it wasn't too expensive, but I
Mm-hmm.
mean, it kind of, for me, it hurt the image of the business because we had to have a job that came back. But you live through it, you learn, and you fix it for the next one. So,
And we learned how to do customer service.
yep.
Because sometimes, when people come back and say, "Oh, this is not right," or you selling candles and the candles didn't lit or something, or you don't have, when people make a complaint, how are you going to respond?
Right.
Are you going to say, "Oh no, you didn't. I did what I was supposed to do," and that's just what. And see, when you do that, it's I come to find out that it's better sometimes to lose and keep your good name than to say I was right and prove them that I was right, and then now you got somebody touting that your business.
Right, because even even if a customer comes in and says that there's an issue with something, or they have a problem with something, my go-to is, all right, well, let's fix it. If if I can fix it, if I can replace it, or if we can reprint it or whatever it is, let's go ahead and do that, because like you said, our name is far better than,
Right.
having a good name and good reputation in the community is far better than being right in a situation.
Right. And so sometimes you just got to suck it up. Just go ahead and say, "Look, I made a mistake. Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. Let me try to fix that, and let me, keep my name good, because your name is worth
Right.
money."
Yeah, because I mean, even a bad review on the internet, or someone gets online and says something about a company.
Oh boy, kids, boy, I tell you.
Even if somebody gets online and leaves a bad review,
Yeah.
you try to fix those things, because people who don't know you are going online, or looking for reviews about you, about your company, and whatever is out there is what people go by. I mean, think about it. When you go on Amazon and you're looking at a product that you want to purchase, what's the first thing you do? I know the first thing I do is I go and I look at those reviews.
Yeah.
And then I
Look at the
go
reviews.
and see what people are saying about the company, what they're saying about the product. And then I make my decision on purchasing that way. And I mean, people look at your business and do the same thing.
They do the same thing. And the thing is if you got good reviews and then people are saying good things about you, most of the time people that don't know you or don't know your business, they will trust you to do their order because of somebody else's experience. And so you have to be very careful. Now, sometimes, customers can, take it to the limit.
Right. Well, we've gotten, even on social media, like we've gotten a couple people who've left reviews. Well, no, we have actually, we've got someone left a review. I don't know who she was. I don't even recall her purchasing anything, because I went
Don't
back
say
and
no
looked her
names,
up.
girl.
I don't know who
Don't
she
you,
is,
don't you say no
but I
names.
went back and looked through our customers, and I didn't see her name. But she left us. She didn't leave us a good review. It was like low stars, and because I wanted to go back and say, hey, what was the issue? Let's try to fix it. Maybe you can go back and say something else on the review to, change that. Couldn't find out who she was, and possibly she left the review and we were the wrong company or something. It doesn't, whatever. It did lower our star rating, but, you always just try to go and find out who it is and how you can help fix that
And,
situation.
and you can't satisfy everybody. You just can't. You can't satisfy everybody. But the thing is your percentage. Percentage of people. If you serviced 100 people and 3 out of that 100 had issues or left bad reviews, then you can okay, well, that's not bad. But if you only did 10 people, serviced 10 people, and 3 out of those 10 left bad reviews, now you got a problem.
All right, you got a problem. And then you also, even if the customer, is unhappy and you've done everything that you could to fix the situation, they can't say, well, they didn't try to help me. You know, so that's one thing that you always want to look at. Because even if a customer comes to us and we can't help them, or, you know, whatever it is they're trying to do, I'll always refer them to someone else. Hey, I know this company down the road does it, or I know such and such does this. Right. Maybe you should give them a call, because, you know, that says a lot about you. Of course, that you're not, you know, just trying to do something to take somebody's money, right. But then you're also helping whoever else is in the business in the same line, you know, achieve what they're trying to get in business too. Because
sometimes you try to overpromise. You know, there's certain things that we just can't do. Some things we can do. But when you're just looking at a dollar and you're just trying to get that dollar, that's the only thing that you're interested in. Sometimes you get into that point, or be pushed into that, you know, overpromise.
And that's area. Something that we should talk about too, is overpromising, especially when overpromising and underdelivering, especially when it's something that's not in your wheelhouse.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about that later, because, you know, that's a heavy subject. Guess what, y'all? You're in the flood zone. Somebody come get that girl back there. She's floating.